From Cajun Country to Death Valley, this is Fishbowl Sports Radio.
We're breaking down every snap,
Swing,
slam from the Louisiana Raging Cajuns to the LSU Tigers.
2 proud programs, 1 passionate state.
Whether it's Tiger Stadium on a Saturday night
or the Cajun Dome rocking midweek, we've
got
the
the
bold
bold
takes,
takes,
insider scoops, and homegrown pride you won't hear anywhere else.
Fishbowl Sports Radio, where Louisiana sports come to life.
Welcome to the Talk on Highland. My name is Chief. I'm joined by Bear and Juicy here. We are live here on YouTube, on Facebook, on Instagram, and in your mama's house. How's everybody doing this tonight?
What up? What up?
What's up?
We have our little QR code on the right side so you can support the stream or go to Fishbowl Store. Either way you want to, support us, it's always good there. It's right there on the camera, my camera left, which is technically my left. So anyway here, so let's talk about it. Bear and Juicy, this college football playoff. I know y'all are more on the Power 4 side because I've talked with Jalen. We've had this long conversation. I'm going to give y'all my little tidbit about everything, then we'll get your opinions on this here. I believe the committee got it right with the parameters they had in place because they kind of backed themselves in a corner anyway. I even thought that the ACC trying to push Duke was kind of like it was like one of the college football troll pages. Those are always fun to look at, like one of those posts from there to try to get Duke on board with everything there. So you have that going on there. And I'm not a big fan of Paul Feinbaum. I think he got paid by Disney to say the comments he said about G5 schools not wanting to be in the playoff because I think Disney wants a G5 playoff. And I talked about this almost 2 years ago to this date because I did it in December, at the end of December. And I rewatched the video and we talked about this very situation right here on Fishbowl Sports with what happened, like a doomsday scenario and stuff. So I'll let you have the floor, Bear. And what you think about the whole situation?
Well, now they're talking about expanding to 16 teams because of the whole Vanderbilt, Texas not getting in, and James Madison and Tulane getting in. And then let's not even get into the whole Notre Dame with their handshake agreement that if they're ranked in the top 12, they automatically get in for the next 6 years, 5 years, 2030, I think it is. Like, why don't I heard this exact argument today, and it makes sense. I heard from Hunt Palmer, 104.5 ESPN. Why do we have to talk about the top 12 college football playoff and Notre Dame? Why do we have to talk about the G4, the G5, the G4, and Notre Dame? Why can't Notre Dame play on the same level as everybody else and join a conference? Why do they get to hold their own candlestick? Why do we have to include them in we need a uniform set of rules as far as to what the guidelines are to get into the playoff. But as far as with the playoff rankings themselves, Tulane getting in as the highest ranked G5 team, yes, we saw that. We knew that could happen if all they had to do was win. James Madison getting in was a surprise because, there were other 2-loss teams that, could have deserved that shot, like a Vanderbilt, a Texas, So I don't know. Maybe I feel like they got it right with Tulane being in there, but I don't agree with the whole James Madison thing myself.
Do you see what you think?
Well, on the Notre Dame subject, I was reading something today that Notre Dame, the Big Ten told Notre Dame they they have to join them in all sports or nothing. So supposedly, I read something they might be in talks with. They're also in talks with the Big 12 and the SEC, which I don't see why the SEC would make a fit for them. I mean, I'd love for them to give it a shot, but
For the money, it would.
for the money, yeah. But I think the ACC would make more sense, or the
No.
Big Ten for sure would definitely make the most sense for them, since they play like half the Big Ten teams anyway.
Yeah, but look at the teams that they play. It's all the bottom feeder teams.
Still, though, they play them, and hey, geographically it makes sense for them.
Geographically, it does, but how much geographical sense does it make for USC to be in the Big Ten or
I know that
Stanford to
doesn't
be
make
in
sense.
the ACC? That
So I
doesn't
guess
make
at this
any
point,
geographical sense.
I guess at this point it don't matter. I mean, if they want to join the SEC, that's cool too, I guess, for the money. But I personally don't agree with the playoff scenario. I personally don't agree with, honestly, with Tulane or James Madison, unless it was like a 16-team playoff. I do think there's two lost teams that were more deserving than both of them to be in there.
See, why we got to go to 16 teams? We don't need to go to 16 teams. We can stay at 12. We should have stayed at 8. We didn't need to expand to 12.
Well, they always say
they
say the more money you got, the more problems you got. So maybe the more money and more teams you got, the more problems you have.
We need a standard rubric across the board that applies to everybody, Notre Dame included, and that's how we fix this issue.
Does it make sense?
I'll defend the James Madison edition whenever y'all done.
Does it make sense that Ole Miss opens as an 18-point favorite over Tulane, and Oregon opens as a 21.5-point favorite over James Madison? I mean, that just doesn't make any sense in any universe.
Okay, so with the James Madison thing, I'm gonna take you back about 2 years. Okay, Caleb loves Cignetti. Doesn't everybody love Cignetti? All right. So whenever he was at James Madison, what did Indiana do, and what did the transfer portal do? What it did best? Okay. They raided JMU's program, all right? A lot of those players on Indiana's team were at JMU whenever that happened, okay?
Yep.
It's just
following
a media bias, all right? It's just behind a brand name. Why didn't Alabama drop after they lost the SEC championship game, right? You got to live off a name a little bit, right? Because a couple of years ago, Georgia lost SEC championship game, and what happened? They dropped 4 or 5 spots in the playoff rankings.
They're supposed to. I mean, back in the BCS days, if you lost the conference championship game, well, it sucks for you.
Yeah,
hey,
I'm not. I'm not saying that if the argument is like whether Alabama, Notre Dame, or whatever it is.
I personally don't think Alabama should have got in either with 3 losses. I just don't think that makes any sense either. I think.
Oh, absolutely, I agree with that.
I think
100%.
Texas kind of deserved a little bit more.
Texas over Alabama.
Yeah, Texas, I think probably should have got in over everybody. I would say even Vanderbilt, technically, if you want to talk about it that way. If for another SEC team, if we're going to go down that route, but it's just look. This was stupid to begin with. This was completely stupid. When in 2014 we went to a committee. A committee does nothing but bog everything down. Okay, period. All right. No matter what you do, there's too many people involved in regards of like picking things out. So we had an algorithm set with the BCS. Now, granted, the BCS had its issues. Okay, but you just take the BCS, rank the teams between the strength of schedule, the strength of record, all these other
margin of victory.
Yeah, in that algorithm that we had going on and from 98 to 2013, it got better. It got progressively better. Then they went to the playoff and they had to make this committee. So you can have a committee, but they should be its own separate poll, whatever poll that is. They make their poll. Coaches can make a poll. AP can make a poll.
They can influence the BCS,
and then they all converge together to give you one poll. But they should probably have 5 different polls, honestly, when it gets down to it. That way, there's so many like opinions, and it would just be converged together. Because the AP alone is like 100-something people in there already, so it doesn't make sense that we need to add something else to it, and that's the way they're going to do it. But I'm going to say this. Feinbaum and all the other ESPN heads here, Disney wants a G5 playoff. That's why they're going on TV saying the stuff they're saying about like there should be no G5 teams in the college football playoff this year,
I
period.
think a G5 playoff would make better sense than
Well, they're
having
trying
to
to make
squeeze
more
them in
money.
there.
That's the thing here. So whenever they made those comments, I was like, you know what? Let's go look at this stuff. If they did a G5 playoff, what would actually happen? So if you go look on the Fishbowls page, it's right there. I posted about the audience figures from the conference championship games and what people watched. They had 1.1 million people watch the Sun Belt championship game. They had 2.4 million or 2.5 watch the American. The SEC had 17.5 million. I think the Big 12, but like, look, in comparison to the FCS playoffs in their semifinals, which was on ABC, they had about 2 million people, but they want to try to keep the G5 out so they can just put this G5 playoff in there so they can make more money, which in turn will actually increase your cable bill at the end of the day or streaming deal, whatever you use, because they got more leverage against the servicers like YouTube TV, because Hulu and Fubo is all owned by Disney. This is just another trick in the book to try to like get Power 4 up here and G5 down here. I'm telling you, that's exactly what they're doing.
I think it's turned into a big giant participation trophy at this point, because going to back the thing about the BCS was, yes, 2/3 humans influence, but at the end of the day the algorithm was unbiased. The 8 best teams or whatever, or 10 best teams got in regardless of who it was, and no matter if you had 7 SEC teams out of the 12 or whatever, the best teams got in. Period. End of the day. I think it's just turned into a big giant participation trophy, because we have to include the ACC, and we have to include Notre Dame, and we have to include the G5, and we have to include the Big 12 and whatever else. Like it should just be the best 12 teams get in, regardless of however many teams from each conference it is. Like, I mean,
I do think only one G5 team should have got in. That should be Tulane. To me, James Madison getting in makes absolutely no sense at all in the slightest.
I mean, James Madison's only loss was to Louisville.
But
would it make more sense for Duke to go in there, Juicy?
No, not Duke. Not with 5 losses.
I mean, they're a conference champion technically.
They're
in every other sport, the conference champion does get an automatic bid. Technically, I mean that's not.
So they technically should have gotten an automatic bid.
Now,
yeah, I mean,
I'm gonna throw this out here. I'm gonna throw this out here to y'all real quick. The CFP is not sanctioned by the NCAA. It's not at all. If the NCAA wanted to make a playoff for the FBS, they have the right to do so. The CFP would just be an NIT basically. It's not sanctioned by the NCAA. They can make their own playoff if they want to. They just choose not to.
Oh, that definitely changes the price of eggs in China.
Yep, that this is just basically the CFP is basically an NIT tournament at its core, if you really want to look at it. But they got an actual they're recognized. The NCAA recognizes the CFP as the national champion, because it's like it is a what's the word I'm looking for? It's 2 words. They're like they're one of those like voting y'all help me out here a little bit. They're like one of those like selectors of national champions, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what they basically are. They're like, oh, like we'll just use that. Like it's easier for us to do it that way. So that's kind of how we got to this point here.
But I was gonna say, but we have.
I was gonna say, so technically.
Juicy.
Somebody's cutting out.
I think it's Bear cutting
It's
out.
probably
But
me.
go ahead, Juicy.
I was
It's
gonna
probably
say technically, we have been saying that the G5 or the small school deserves their fair shot. So I do think the one G5 team is more than sufficient to try and give them something to play for during the regular season, and then let them go from there. But two of them don't really make sense at all. But
All right, Bear.
nothing makes sense anymore.
Kind of running into a little bit of trouble with you, Bear.
whatever it was, 2017, 2018. My signal. Oh man.
Yeah, so with the controversy, like Notre Dame, like the only reason they're not joining a conference,
Hello.
it's the same thing that happened with Texas. So y'all remember this Longhorn, the Longhorn
Network,
Network?
yeah.
That's why they never that's what kept them in the Big 12 for so long, because the Big 12 was okay with them having the Longhorn Network. That's why they didn't join the SEC and everything else. But then they realized, okay, look, like we're kind of like losing our grip, so they left. They took all the Longhorn Network money and they moved it to the SEC. So you got the same situation with Notre Dame. It does not make financial sense for them to move to a conference like the ACC because their NBC deal is so big compared to the ACC.
Well, then they can go to the Big Ten. The Big Ten has $1 billion marketing deal.
So, like the specifics of Notre Dame's deal, they have it through 2029 with NBC and a streaming service Peacock for all exclusive fighting hours. A partnership generating significant revenue for the university is around $50 million annually.
But the Big Ten has a $1 billion marketing deal with ABC, ESPN, so they can join the Big Ten, and they would actually make more money doing that.
To put it in plain Jane language, Notre Dame doesn't want to share.
Well, then they don't deserve a share in the playoff.
Yeah, they should never share a spot in the playoff.
Yeah, that's basically what it is. They don't want to share. That's what it comes down to.
They don't need a share spot in the playoff. Until you want to be an independent, play a true independent schedule. Don't have a handshake alliance with that Big Ten and the ACC and only play the bottom feeder teams. So you can say your signature win was USC. I mean, come on, really?
And they lost to Texas A&M and Miami. I hate this basis of like, oh, if they played today, they would beat Miami. They didn't beat them the first time they played. That was their opportunity. They didn't make the most of their opportunity.
That was their opportunity. They didn't make the most.
Everybody was. We weren't sure if Notre Dame was if Miami was even going to get in over Notre Dame. I'm glad they had came to their senses and was like, oh yeah, Notre Dame did lose to Miami.
Yeah. That's what kind of that was part of the problem that happened there. Oh man, I'm like them expanding that playoff is not going to fix anything. You're going to have the same conversations that we're having now about like should 13 get over 12. You know what's crazy? We're talking about 2 and 3 loss teams trying to fight for a spot when a couple of years ago the debate was like, okay, should a 1-loss team make it? Or, like if anybody got robbed in this whole entire like college football playoff system, it was Florida State. I forget what year it was. They were undefeated.
Last year, wasn't it?
I don't think it was
2021.
last
year. It was 2021.
Yeah. They were the ones that technically got robbed because their starting quarterback got hurt.
No, it was 23. It was 23.
2023, yeah.
So
Jordan Travis,
their starting quarterback got hurt. And the committee decided, well, y'all ain't as good without your starting quarterback.
They won their conference championship game 16-7.
And they're like, this is why we got the 12-team playoff now. And now we're going to jump into a 16-team probably. But that's not going to stop it there. We're going to go to a 24 probably at some point. But why stop there? Let's go to a 48-team playoff.
The
Yeah.
FCS does 24 teams.
Which they should just model it after the FCS. It didn't make no sense. Every conference champion probably should just get a foot at the table, right? But that makes
Yeah, if you
sense.
do 24 teams, you might as well do a conference champion, get automatic bids.
Go ahead and do it.
8-5 Duke can be in there too because they can cry that they deserve to be in there. Which
Yeah.
I think they should. I mean, in every other sport, they get in. So I mean, hey, throw them in there too.
That makes sense. I mean, it would keep the conference championship games being significant. But
Yeah, that would make them much
so
more significant.
the reason why Alabama got in there, besides their name and stuff and their marketability and TV production and stuff like that, their TV power or whatever, is, well, you can make the argument for BYU. Why did BYU not get in? They lost
their conference championship game.
They lost to
They got
Texas
blown
Tech
out.
twice. They got beat
blown
down
out.
by Texas Tech twice.
They shouldn't be punished for
But they played an extra game. That's what I think. They would have left out Alabama and BYU, you might have seen some of these schools say, we're not playing this conference championship game.
Well, if they would expand the 24 or whatever it's going to be, they say, all right, automatic qualifiers, we'll get a spot. It might be a lower seed, depending on your record, but hey, at least it would make it much more something to play for, though.
But I guess the at large in that situation would be, all right, conference champions get in there all perfectly and everything else. But what about the teams that play in the conference championship games? Do they get knocked out too?
Well, if it's a highly ranked team, then they probably would stay or get a shot. But if you like
Ohio State,
but if two lower ranked teams happen to play, and well, one of them might just not get in, or the qualifier will.
You have to be in the top. So I think of what they're going to do next year is, and this is going to cause some controversy. You're going to they might do this rule where you have to be a certain rank to get a spot, an at-large spot. Whether then it would be, because right now it's just the top 5 highest ranked conference champions. That's why JMU got in. That's the only reason why JMU got in. And besides Duke, Duke beating because Duke wasn't even nowhere near the ranked that wasn't nowhere near ranked at all. North Texas or Tulane was going to get in regardless because they were going to be they were both ranked when they played each other. Then you have JMU there already ranked. That's why they got in. They're going to change this thing every single year. So it's going to be, you can't satisfy everybody. They just need to have a system straight up and just be like, this is what this is, and we're going to keep it like this for 4 or 5 years so everybody kind of knows and how they can schedule a way around it. Because right now, we're not going to have any premier matchups in the regular season because everybody's scared of having losses on their record. So they're going to play cupcake schedules, and that's going to come to bite everybody, I think, because there's going to be so many teams undefeated, and they're going to be because of
with one loss or
with one loss. We're going to try to figure out, all right, okay, who's your loss to? You lost to Georgia, okay? They're undefeated, so that's a good loss for you. I'm telling you, it's going to be kind of rough out there until you get into conference play. And the SEC the SEC is getting that 9th game. ACC has 9 games. So we're gonna they're cutting out these out of conference games. So it's gonna be a trickle down effect. It's gonna be interesting to see how all this stuff kind of shapes out and see what happens here. What you think, Bear?
Yeah, why are we now having this debate about good losses and bad losses? Since when was a loss just not a loss, regardless of who it was to?
I guess if you lost to a top 5 ranked team, that would be considered? They're doing the March Madness way of thinking okay, they lost to top 5 Texas A&M, so that's a bad loss. But they won the rest of their games or whatever. I think that's kind of the approach they're going with it. That's what I think.
I just think there's just too much money bias on the committee. They're just trying to put the brands that are recognizable.
Well, definitely put Alabama in at 3 losses. I don't think they've put a 3-loss team in there before until this year.
They should have never been. They should have never made a committee to begin with. It was pointless. They had a system already in place to rank teams, and it was honestly up until today, it is the best ranking system that the college football has ever had because it punished
Oh,
teams that lost, especially in
yeah.
November. So with the BCS, you could lose in September, and it wouldn't hurt you as bad unless if you lost in September, you had a chance to build yourself back up. It was forgiving, but you're supposed to be a more complete team in November. You're supposed to be playing championship ball in November. You
Yep.
lose in November, the BCS punished you a lot more than it did in September. Because at least in September, when you lost, you had time to build yourself back up.
And the BCS didn't take into factor injuries or coaches leaving like this system does,
Yeah.
which I
Like
think is dumb.
Florida State a couple years ago, they still even won the ACC title game, and they still got kept out. I know they played what they didn't think was they beat Louisville. It was who they didn't think was that great, but they still won their conference championship game.
But yeah, it doesn't matter who they played in the conference championship; they won.
Yeah. So
They found a way to win without their quarterback.
That's what I'm saying.
and
BCS didn't factor in injuries or coaches leaving. The calendar is what screwed all that up too, with the coaches leaving and everything. And speaking of coaches leaving, Michigan fired Shamar Moore today for calls. Supposedly he got arrested for something. I don't know what though.
he was messing around with a staff member.
Ooh.
These coaches can't stay away from these staff members.
That's what getting you a work wife does, bro.
Gotta stay out them sorority houses.
I seen Kalen DeBoer was one of the top.
I saw Kalen DeBoer was the highest odds maker to get the Michigan job.
Yeah, that's what I was seeing.
Oh yeah, that like he's gonna leave Alabama to go to Michigan.
Hey, money talks if they can pay him. I mean,
Dave Portnoy better pony up that cash.
Yeah. Dave Portnoy. They got Dave Portnoy over there.
I've seen some LSU fans already trying to recruit Bryce Underwood to come go back to Baton Rouge.
Nah, he ain't leaving. He's getting paid $4 million a year.
The board technically ain't done nothing to be able to earn more money though.
He's got him in the playoff though.
Yeah, but they never lost 3 games in a season under Nick Saban. He's
except his first year.
Except his first year, yeah, I get that.
Yeah. But I mean, I think the whole NIL game is way different than it was even when Saban was around. Saban kind of dealt with it a little bit, but I mean,
hey, you seen what Coach O said about that? He said back then we would just come through the back door with the money. Now you can walk through the front. Yeah, you can come in the back door with the money. Now you can just walk through the front door with it.
Everybody kind of suspected it. I mean, at the time, but you gotta what's the saying? You gotta pay to play. Basically, that's basically what it is. Well,
the stuff that if you go back to the 80s with SMU, Eric Dickerson and all that, like that's basically NIL that they were doing. Yeah. I mean, that's all totally legal now.
Reggie Bush should get his Heisman back.
Yeah, Reggie Bush need that Heisman back.
Oh man, it's just kind of crazy that all that's going on. Though.
Okay, another controversy we need to get into too. What is the deal with these schools turning down bowl games just because, like Notre Dame, you didn't get invited to the playoffs? So we're just not gonna play in a bowl game. Like, what is going on with this? Since when did we turn down opportunities to play in bowl games?
So, I think it has to do a lot with the portal and barely fielding teams. Okay, so.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, because it opens up and
it's not even opened up right now. Like for example, UL's got an offensive lineman already in the transfer portal, and the game's next week. The portal hasn't technically opened yet, but if you're
not till
already
January.
If you're already
the portal's only open once a year now
because they don't want to injure themselves either. That's another thing. That's like resting players before because a bowl game's meaningless nowadays. It doesn't really pay to even go to them, honestly. I mean, you do get a stipend from the conference if they are able to do that. So here's the crazy thing. So Georgia Southern is in a bowl game against App State.
Yes, they're still looking for an opponent at the Birmingham Bowl.
Yeah. That's the crazy thing going on right now. I mean, it's just so weird.
We've had 4-win teams all the 5-win teams have turned down bowl bids. Now they're going to the 4-win teams and they're still turning them down.
Because
Bowl games to me don't mean nothing no more since NIL, since players can just sit out.
Or
yeah, they
since
just
the
sit
col-
out
or
and
since
like
the since the
LSU,
playoff.
LSU a couple of years. Well, Marshall they couldn't even go to a bowl game last year. They had to pay the conference because when Huff left last year to go to Southern Miss, now he's already moving, going to Memphis now. he They took most of Marshall's team. He took so much of Marshall's team, and they all transferred out that they had to sit out their bowl game. What year was it? That was last year. That was last year.
Last year.
Yeah, so I mean, there's gonna be more common occurrences going across here. Maybe not to the extreme that Marshall had to suffer last year, but that is something to kind of look at with these bowl games and stuff. But um, yeah, like for the G5 and stuff, they're gonna play those bowl games because that's a financial incentive for them because right now they're bleeding hard for the money.
Not only that,
So
it gives their better players a chance to show themselves out on national television for potential NFL scouts.
yeah, and also this is something we need to touch on because this is gonna be a big, big, big deal in the future here. And this is definitely the talk on Highline for sure. Uh, y'all heard about this Utah business?
I heard something about it, but I don't really understand what's
So
going
the
on.
private equity. Okay, so I'm gonna try to make this as non-complicated as I possibly can, but this is somewhat complicated. Okay. So it's a private equity firm that's going to pay Utah University up to $500 million. Okay, this is basically NFL style. It's going to change probably college football if Utah becomes this big juggernaut out west. It's going to change everything about college football. This is not a good thing. Like the sport that you knew died when COVID hit. Basically, when COVID hit, college football died right then and there. Because NIL got started in the summer of 21. This is just going to push it to levels that you're not going to be recognized as sport anymore. Because what that private equity firms are for, with them investing this $500 million, them possibly up to $500 million, is the fact that their goal is to make money. Now, how they'll go about doing it is they might, start putting like sponsorships on jerseys. They might do it like NASCAR where, drivers wear all their like a sponsored by Coke, Gatorade, that kind of thing. You understand where I'm going with that there. They might do stuff like that. And they might just donate straight to that school's NIL fund. Yeah. You heard me right. NIL fund. 500. I repeat, $500 million with a non-salary cap business. There's no salary cap in this. At least
is that for all sports or is it just football?
All sports.
Okay.
You can have a juggernaut baseball team.
Oh,
Could you imagine dropping $100 million on Utah's baseball team?
Yeah.
They could coach any team in the country.
$100 million roster could get you a lot of talent in baseball.
Like, you could probably even get some pro MLB players to come down and play college if they didn't finish up their degree.
Yeah. Okay. I need to find some eligibility.
Yeah, like, I'm just saying, like, this could get really bad. Like, this is not a really good thing to, like, look into. Because NIL wasn't even, like, regulated properly for this to not be a thing. So they have some kind of law they're trying to pass through Congress right now. I don't think it's going to do anything. It's it's not a good situation because you have no salary cap. You're going to have a bunch of these pop up here, especially if Utah starts having this.
It's gonna turn into L.A. Dodgers, New York Yankees type situations.
Yes, like MLB's dealing with here. But you got to know what the best players are, and it's not going to be hard to figure out who the best players are because they'll be on your team for 1 year and they'll be dipping the next year.
Oh yeah, to go get some of that money. Yeah,
You
100%.
you know how Jaden Daniels even stayed 2 years at LSU? Good luck for him trying to stay 1 year
Yeah.
because ain't nobody turning down $100 million to go play football. Like the Heisman Trophy winner is going to get at least $40 million just straight up. There's no point,
Oh
and they
yeah.
might stay. They might stay in college for 4 years. You might have something like that because this they can pay them whatever. They could do it now, but everybody's kind of like, okay, look, we're going to spread out amongst the teams here. But I used it as an example earlier when I was talking about this. Like, could you imagine a prime 2007 Tom Brady playing for UL's football team this year at quarterback? Like, the best player in the college football, put him on a G5 team underneath the center. He's going to win every single game for him.
Yeah, because you can use that money to build you a good offensive line.
Yeah, you could do whatever you want. Like, that's just basically what it is. You can get all the skill position players you want. I'm just saying, like, this is not a good situation at all. Like for anybody, like because the floodgates there is more Ganza right now. Okay, like you have maybe like 3 or 4 gates open. All of them are opening up.
Oh yeah.
Everything's getting flooded. Everything's getting flooded that way.
Well,
So
if they would have put a salary cap on NIL to start, like a $500,000 cap, like that's the most that you can pay out or whatever, and
it would have
still
stopped the whole thing.
keep it amateur level, then none of this would be happening. But they just refuse to, you know, address the elephant in the room, and now here we are. Now we're gonna. It's college sports has turned into a minor professional league at this point. It's basically a minor league sport, minor league
Shoot,
NFL.
I wouldn't even say it's minor league anymore. I call it major.
Well, actually, yeah, because like some of these guys in college are making more now than they'll make per year in the NFL. Because some
Yeah,
of you got to realize like a lot of your good college players, like there's only about 10% of them that are going to in that upper echelon that are going to become like elite NFL players and make 100 million plus in their career. But most of these guys are just gonna, they're making more now than they would being a backup in the NFL.
yeah. So like I'm saying,
Like
like
a
this is not a
like
good
the
situation.
Yeah, like the average salary for a backup QB in the NFL is 800,000. Like Bryce Underwood's making more than that right now. He's making 4 million a year.
Yeah, a lot of them players that like using the transfer portal that go bounce around place to place. They're gonna come in from a hard check reality if they go to the NFL because you ain't gonna
That's
bounce
another thing
around
they
the
need to.
NFL.
It's another
You
thing they
can't.
need to cap too is how many times you can transfer out.
But all that stuff that you came up with, you're probably gonna get a lawsuit for that. Like if they try any of that because they're one defensive argument and you're capping my ability to make money income.
But you're in college. You're supposed to be getting a degree. You're getting paid by the school. You're getting a free ride to college. That should be enough by itself.
But then people argue that they don't get they don't have they still got to pay for their room and their
They
books
don't know.
and
They don't. That's all. No, that's all paid for by private donations. That's how they get these free ride scholarships. All that money's paid for by private donations. That has zero. That had the school. That has zero effect on the budget of the school and what they pay for. That's all their scholarships. All the stuff that they get is all private donations. That's paid
I
for
do
by the
think
athletic budget.
I have always thought though that players probably should get like paid, and by that I don't mean I think they should only get paid like a certain percentage of whatever, like, oh well, an autographed picture of them or a
Yeah,
shoe or
like the money would
jersey or something.
go into a collective and then it's distributed equally amongst all the players. Yeah, that I get.
Like they should have got, like, instead of just now letting them get everything, they should always at least got like a certain percentage of whatever it
Well,
was.
part of the problem that we're having now is the collectives. They should have never been allowed to exist to begin with. What they should have done when the name, image, and likeness. All right, schools set up a collective so they could distribute it evenly between all the schools, but that created a problem. Okay, because now you can okay, we'll just pay more of this guy here because we like him better than this one. When the players themselves, you want to get my jersey, you get money. That's fine. But they should have did it where they're instead of the school being a NASCAR driver, which is what this private equity firm thing is doing, it should have been just a player be the NASCAR driver. You understand what I'm saying? They should
Yeah,
have
like
been the
you have
ones
an
just getting
agent and
Coca-Cola and all these sponsoring them. Like they're an influencer, basically. The
yeah.
influencer model would have paid off very well for college football because the most influencer one I think of most recent decade, I would say, would be either like Johnny Manziel or even Joe Burrow for LSU. That would have been the one that you would want to use the money for, not because not for the backup or whatever guy on your team or whatever. Now they should have been the ones doing the hard work, not the other way around, not the school handling any of that stuff or people set up from behalf of LSU running collectives. But I mean, we're past that point now. It's so deeply ingrained that this is literally a
Oh,
runaway train with a track that's been blown out from dynamite or something.
well, Jimmy Sexton's already the most powerful man in college football behind the scenes. I got a feeling he's going to find some way to weasel himself into this whole collective thing with the players.
Yep. And it also opens up the door.
It
Why
won't.
do you think we're having this big gambling problem happening right now?
Yeah.
I mean, you can hope that people do the right thing, but you're just hoping for the best at that point.
Look, Dr. Greg House said it best. Everybody lies.
Oh man, bro. All right, I think we talked enough about this whole NIL and all this private equity stuff here. So let's talk about some LSU men's basketball and LSU women's basketball. Bear, I know we lost against Texas Tech here, but this men's basketball team is definitely from what I'm seeing so far, is probably McMahon's best LSU basketball team that he's ever had. What do you think so far?
Yeah, definitely. This probably. I mean, we've managed to go 10 or 11 games into the regular season with only one loss. This is probably the best that he's had. Normally by this time we'd have 4 or 5 losses. So I mean, things are looking up for men's basketball.
Juicy, what you think?
And I'm still not sold yet, man, because I know last year LSU basketball, the men started off the same way and ended up having a pretty treacherous SEC schedule. So I'm not sold yet. That's all I'm gonna say.
The Tigers are
Yeah.
going to be taking on SMU on Saturday in New Orleans in the Smoothie King Center. Then they're going to take on Southeastern on the 19th on the next Friday. Not this Friday coming up, but the next Friday. So you have 9-1 SMU on the road. Their net ranking is 31 and RPI is 14. So that'll be a good contest for
That's a loss.
LSU men's basketball there. So Bear, you think Tigers are dropping against SMU?
Oh yeah, I think they're gonna probably lose that one.
What you think?
Hopefully, let's not get blown out this time like we did against Texas Tech.
What you thinking, Juicy?
I'm gonna give them the benefit of the doubt. I think they'll win. I think they can pull it off.
Interesting.
No, I'm gonna have to do the whole baseball mentality. Got to ride them hard to make them play good.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna go with Bear. I think they'll drop it to SMU. I feel like after seeing Texas Tech, that was gonna be my measuring stick game. SMU is not as good as Texas Tech this year, I don't think, but I think they're close enough to them there. But I think Tigers do drop to SMU. I think they'll get back in
LSU
Southeastern, but it doesn't look like it's gonna be Too good.
LSU men's basketball will lose any game that the team is above 500. They have to be at 500 or below if they have a decent chance to win. I'm sorry. That's just the way it is.
Let's talk about LSU women's basketball a little bit here. Just kind of give everybody updates what's going on here because it's still an early season. We hadn't even gotten the conference play yet for anybody yet. So LSU women's that they beat Duke and they went up on the road and beat New Orleans. They take on Louisiana Tech on Saturday. Then they got Morgan State next Tuesday. One game's in the Smoothie King Center, and the next one is on in the Pete Maverick Assembly Center. I got
PMAC. Just call it the PMAC.
PMAC. Yeah, I think LSU wins both those games. What you think, Bear?
Yeah, I mean LSU women's basketball is on a roll. I did happen to watch that game, like most of that game against Duke, and like man, Kate Koval's defense, like she's getting it done out there. I think she leads the SEC in blocks right now, and what's her face? The freshman we talked about her last week. She leads the SEC in steals right now and assists per game. She's averaging like 10.2 points a game, and she's averaging 8 assists a game, which is like top 5 in the nation and like best in the SEC. So yeah, I mean women's basketball, they're defensively they were kind of shaky at first against Duke, but they pulled it together, and I really like this team this year. I think they're gonna go far.
So LSU women's basketball has not scored less than 93 points in a game. So
And that's good.
that's a very high scoring. That's a lot of 100-point games. And they scored over 100 points every single game except one that was against Duke. So when your floor is 93 so far, you're doing pretty good. I think they'll win both those games there. What you think, Bear?
Grace Knox. Grace Knox is what I was talking about. I just thought of her name. She's averaging 10.2 points a game and averaging 8 assists a game. So like for a true freshman, that's phenomenal.
Yeah. What you think, Juicy?
Yeah, I think they'll win both of them. I mean, there's not really much to add on to what y'all said. I mean, pretty much I just reiterate that they'll win both of them. They'll probably win the next 4 games at least, honestly.
Then they start SEC play, taking on Kentucky on the first of the year, man.
And they should win that one too.
Then they go on the road, take on Vanderbilt after that. But they got 4 straight home games after that Louisiana Tech game, so that'll work out really good.
But yeah, I'm really liking this team this year with their aggressive play.
They're aggressive and they're smooth, dude. They are just smooth with their ball handling, and they get up in there.
Well,
they got grit. This is a team, an LSU women's basketball team that's got grit.
Well, see, last year we didn't have a Kate Koval on this team last year. With that's what we're missing. We're missing that size in the middle that can get in there and defend the paint. That's what we didn't have last year, and I mean it's really made a difference.
Yep. All right, y'all. Well, I think we've had a very good episode here. Is there anything else y'all want to talk about before we get off here?
I think that's it.
Anyone around listening in the local area, if you have a high school team playing in the state championships, go support your local schools.
Yeah, well, that's your.
We have two teams that have never played in the state championship for the first time. Iowa is actually playing tomorrow. They've never been, and Gina.
Yeah, go out there and support. Go get your butt to the Dome. I think that's where they're playing at this year.
Yeah, it's in the Dome.
It's always in the
every
Dome.
year.
Except for COVID, I think they went up to Natchitoches.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the last time, I think. Well, thank y'all for tuning in here to this episode here of Fishbowl Sports. We hope you have a great, wonderful night here. Yeah, that'll be here. Like, look, we have our you can support this stream here. We have a little QR code there. But if you want to buy something from our store, we have another QR code up on the top left corner if you're watching on YouTube.
Yep. It's not too late to get those last minute Christmas gifts.
Yeah, last minute Christmas gifts here. Hey, we got you back. We won't tell y'all wives about anything about what you went by late. Okay, we got you.
Well, for an extra little fee, we'll lie about the price too.
We'll cover that expenditure on the bank account.
It was on sale. Everything's always on sale.
Well, speaking of sales, Walmart.com, which is what we are partnered with here, we have a lot of great deals going on over there. Not we, but Walmart does. If we were, family of Walmart, we wouldn't be doing a show probably, or maybe we would, maybe every single day, 24/7. But anyway,
We're striving to get there.
but look, I'm just saying that, like, I'm saying that just to say, there's a lot of sales going on. Walmart.com's got all the sales you could possibly need. You can go, if you want like camping gear, if you want to go outside with the camp, or even get a jump start for camping next year in the springtime. They got a lot of that going on there. Clothes.
Juicy.
Yeah, so if you like that kind of stuff, it's good. Tailgating stuff for next football season. You can probably even buy Christmas trees when they go on sale too. They'll probably be on sale on Walmart.com too. Just click that little QR code or that link, and you know what? Look, you can get the head start next Christmas. If you got a bum Christmas tree or something, hey, make a purchase through there. You'll be able to save some more money and help us out too. So that always looks good there. So if you just want to donate money to the stream, there's the QR code there too. Or we have also you can go shop over at a friends or Team Whiskey if you like really nice like hunting gear and clothes, jackets. I'm trying to think.
Yes, they have really nice apparel and accessories.
Yeah, so like they're really nice, great quality, very impressed with the quality there. So you go give them a try here. Go check out their website. Very cool stuff there. So thank y'all for tuning in here to this episode here of Fishbowl Sports. Hope you have a great and wonderful day. We'll see y'all here next time. Here, the home of Fishbowl Nation, Fishbowl